Welcome to the annual video, yes that one, the 2025 recap of the channel. We're gonna look at the content we've covered, we're gonna look of course at the analytics, how much money we made, and all those type of things, and of course I'll share some of my plans for 2026. Let's dive right in. First of all, to recap, I'm a gamer consultant. I cover city builders, strategy, simulation games with let's plays, guides, but also reviews and tips and tricks videos. We do mostly, pre-recorded long-form videos. I haven't done a lot of shorts, haven't done a lot of live stream, especially this year due to, real life. Before we dive into the channel, I do want to take a minute to say that, in my opinion, I felt 2025 was actually a strong year for city builders, both in terms of quantity and quality, versus the last few years. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect. Many of the games we're going to talk about or that you can start to see on this page, I'm not saying they're perfect. They definitely, some of them had their fair share of problems, but I feel like this year there was quite a lot. We're going to talk about 3 pages of let's plays over here, or playlist if you wish. So let's start with a bit what I've covered this year, right? To recap, and also maybe you've missed some of them and you should actually check on the channel and watch them. So we start, if we look over here at the last date updated, basically we start with Lesser Summit Kingdom. That was a pretty good one, early access with version 1 coming soon with the full campaign. We'll go back into it for sure. Shapes 2, and this is part of what I mean when I say, it's been a strong year. Shape 2, it's still in early access. Version 1 is also coming very soon, but honestly, we're talking about a game that is at like 98% positive on Steam, and that is really good. So if you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out. Then above it, we have a couple that definitely weren't as strong. Airborne Empire, it was 10 episodes, not that long. Interesting experience, but not game of the year for sure. Similar for Punk. I think they released it too early. This game has a huge potential, mixing both the city building aspect, on an actual map, but also the grand strategy aspect, right? You can play it both on the game, but it wasn't fully there. I know they're still working on it, so we may look at it, soon. And then lastly, Endzone 2, it released and it's already dead. The game really wasn't as good as what people were hoping, and so the developer or the studio even closed since. We had in the middle of that though Satisfactory version 1, right? Version 1 fully released. We even have version 1.1 and maybe version 1.2 coming very soon. So we did a full let's play from start to finish of that one. Definitely was a great one. I suggest you watch it if you haven't done so already. Moving to the second page, so we are now in April, March-April time zone. We did Foundation. I know that was a bit late, but Foundation version 1 came out, so it was a great time to look at this one, and honestly a really superb experience. Again, I showed from start to finish the full game, and it was a pretty good one. Memoriopolis also launched in version 1. It was really a blast, and for the fun story, it feels like they're actually fully rebuilding the game right now. They've been sharing dev blogs that are very different from the current game, so maybe version 2 will be like a completely new game that we can play too. I also played, I was a bit late, but I also played Exion and Frostpunk 2, the full campaign for both of those games. Honestly, 2 great games for sure. Maybe not as great for Frostpunk 2 as the first one, at least in my opinion. I feel like it was moving too much into the political aspect and not so much into the actual hardcore city builder path, but still a good game, and Exion definitely a great experience too. Around that time, we also played Anno 1800, and it wasn't our last Anno 1800 of the year. There is another one that you'll see later on, but this one was pretty important because it was New Horizons. After years of teasers, the New Horizons mod that brings Asia into the game launched, and so we had a really great time there. We continue with a few other smaller games like Leiden Trade or The Wandering Village. Good experiences, but again, probably not the game of the year. We had then our annual, Captain of Industry series. This was with update 3. As a recap, every time there is an update of Captain of Industry, I do a new series from start to finish on a different map. This time that was a pretty crazy map. We had also trains and asteroid that were added to the game. So honestly, a really great game, and definitely one of the most successful of the year in terms of views. We had then a couple of other smaller ones like Roman Triumphs and Plan B Terraform, and then our final Anno 1800 series. This one I went full on with tons of mods. We brought more than 60 huge mods. You know, it's not like a mod that brings one building. It's mods that you add whole new tier of population with, you know, 10, 20 buildings each. So it was a pretty crazy one for sure. We also had Father Frontier version 1 that launched, and that was a really great one. I had tons of fun with it. We went super far, I mean, to the end. Basically, we have a perfect city, so don't hesitate to check that on the channel. And then we finished the year, to be honest, with a couple of not so strong series. You know, it's not that I don't like the game. I think I had a great time, for example, playing Foundry. This is still in early access, Foundry, so it's not fully released, but it's a bit like Satisfactory in meets Minecraft, because it's a voxel world where you can really destroy the environment. So yeah, that series wasn't so great, but I had a blast. Then we had Anno 117 that released to, you know, a bit more mixed reviews than everybody was hoping for. I think especially personally, I was disappointed by the campaign. The current series we're doing right now, which is the hardest difficulty possible with no Hall of Fame, no cheat, the hardest AI, etc. I'm having more fun because this is a bit more challenging than this super short and easy campaign. But yeah, the game clearly wasn't 100% finished, and you know, it's easy to forget that Anno 1800, you know, also has had years of updates, quality of life improvement, etc. So, you know, we take a lot of things for granted, but hopefully Anno 117 will get there next year, especially also with the new DLCs. You know, hopefully that brings a lot. And then last but not least, Pioneers of Pagonia version 1 also just released 11th of December. So we've been playing that campaign. I'm having a blast, but again, you know, not the greatest results in terms of views, unfortunately. At the same time, I did also many other videos like top 10 tips videos, reviews, demos, and much more. So if you look at the game reviews over here, for example, some of them I've mentioned, right? Anno 117, for example, but also many others like City Defense Z, Blacksmith Master, Dawn Apart we looked at, and save them for my top 10 tip videos. These are definitely must watch if you haven't yet. I'd love to hear in the comments below if you have, you know, favorite videos of the year or what you're looking forward to next year. But I know you are also looking forward to some transparency on the analytics. It's actually been a pretty good year. You know, we've got almost 1 million views in 2025 across all of those videos, which is 40% more than last year. You know, in terms of views, watch time, and subscribers, we're basically 40% higher than last year. It is not, you know, exponential growth, definitely not, as you can see over here. And, you know, maybe let's go to the lifetime for a second so that you can see, right? So lifetime is not an exponential growth, but it's still growing, you know, slow but surely growing. So that's what is pretty good. And so I want to start obviously with a huge thank you to all of you that are viewers, that are subscribers, even more so of course to the YouTube members and Patreon supporters. You are definitely, you know, very kind to support me in this way. But all of you, again, big thanks for being there. I really appreciate in particular all of you that share comments or likes, you know, because that tells me also what you are interested in. It really starts some of that engagement. Of course, we can have more on my Discord community. Don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see the link to join, of course, for free, this Discord community. But yeah, a huge thank you to you all. Now, looking a bit at, you know, some of the details, the bad thing, to be honest, is that my top videos for the year are actually not 2025 videos. The ultimate guide for Captain of Industry is a 2024 video. The Old World City Stamps is a 2023 video, and they got tons of views in this year, right? 34,000 for the first one, almost 30,000 for the second. The fourth one is, a 2025, and there's more 2025 below. But this is, obviously not so great that some of these haven't, been in this year. At the same time, it is great that some of those videos are still performing great, right? You guys obviously still need some of those support. And that also tells me, for example, for Captain of Industry Ultimate Guide, that, I didn't make an update of that video this year. I will probably make one next year. With the next update, I'll make a new update to that video. Or similarly, right now we don't have stamps yet in Anno 117, but when that comes, because hopefully that will, I will obviously make some of those videos again to help you there. Then maybe let's focus just a bit more on the revenues, because I know many of you are curious about this, and in particular if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, right? You can see with these 700,000 views, or how many videos was that in the year? I forgot, but quite a lot of videos, right? Because I'm posting almost every day. So let's say 300 videos, right? 50,000 hours of watch time. We're talking about $2,000 or just shy of $2,000 before tax, right? After tax, this will be hopefully less. Not hopefully, this will be less. I'm sorry, yes, we have to pay taxes. To give you, a bit of details too, and you can see it's pretty fairly standard. Every month is pretty similar. Some of the big videos we've talked about obviously are at the top. Some of them can also come, because of longer watch time and things like this. We can see a revenue per 1,000 views, so the RPM, that is around $3. It's pretty standard for gaming as far as I'm aware. Some of the other niche can be a lot higher. Some of them can be a lot lower too. Also, it can depend on your, your country of viewership. Most of my viewers, I think we can go into audience. You will see over here, where is it? I always forget where is it. Yeah. Most of my viewers are from, developed countries like the US and European countries like Germany, UK, France. So they tend to bring a bit more money than, let's say, if all of your viewers are from India or from South Africa, where actually I am, right? Because basically the ad revenues from those countries is lower. Interestingly too, is we continue to have mostly viewers that are around this age there, which is basically my age, so it makes sense, right? Like, is you guys, and I say guys because most of you are males, even if thank you to all of the females that are also watching, and don't hesitate to tell me what I can do to make it more inclusive. But definitely, most of the viewers are basically similar to me. You're playing, city building games and not Fortnite or Roblox, and so it makes sense that we're pretty similar to each other. But yeah, mostly on computers, by the way, because this is also, the type of games is mostly on computers. But it's interesting to see TV definitely growing. It's not just me, right? Like for YouTube in general, if you don't know, TV has been growing like crazy compared to the other channels. So yeah, this is quite interesting for sure. We haven't had a single super or gift this year, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm just sharing. And it's, I think, mainly also because I don't really have time for streaming, where some of these often come more. But yeah, sharing over here if you're wondering. So maybe to conclude, over here and start to move into my 2026 plans. While again, I say a huge thank you to all of you of my regular viewers, and even more so to the YouTube members and Patreon supporters. Clearly, this is not the year yet where I've broken into YouTube, right? $2,000 may seem great, and maybe especially in some countries, it would be great. This is not enough to sustain my family with our current lifestyle, or this is not enough, let's say, to replace my current job, my day job, because yes, I have a day job. This is not, this is just what I do in the evening after everybody has gone to bed. So yes, with the current views that we have, I can't change that. And I know some of you may say, actually, it's not possible to really break into YouTube without quitting your job. Like, you need to really be focused on it. I also know that, gaming is not really the easy place to really break, especially city builder gaming, you know, like maybe if you go into some of the other niches in gaming and you focus a lot more on, you know, funny content and things like this. But that's not really what I want. You know, I want to play the game I want to play, and these are city builder and strategy games. I want to also, to be honest, play a lot rather than spend a lot of time editing or scripting like crazy videos. All right, so this is what I do, and I know it's also probably not helping in terms of breaking into YouTube, but this is also what brings me joy and why I do it. So it's fine. We're gonna continue like this, basically. You know, that's what I'm obviously keen to hear in the comments below. If you have any requests for things you want to see next year, you know, specific games or specific types of videos, I'm always keen to hear your feedback and to hear your requests. But the TLDR in my mind is probably to continue as is, playing the game I want, showing them to you, you know, trying probably to do a bit more of the tips and tricks videos, because I know this helps a lot of people and this has a lot of good views. And like I've said last year, to be honest, I will try to do maybe more streaming, but once, it's not that easy, you know, with real life. And second, it actually tends to break the channel when you do one live stream in the middle of all of your pre-recorded videos. You know, it doesn't really help the channel. So thank you again for the support. I hope this was helpful to viewers, or maybe even, you know, you don't know my channel, but you're thinking about starting a gaming YouTube channel, and this can help you to understand, you know, what goes on behind the scenes. And don't hesitate to tell me also if you want to see more of behind the scenes, you know, how do I create my thumbnails, so that I plan my content, those type of things. You know, that can be content for sure to share. Thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.